enabling others to act, which is that fifth leadership principle of Kuznets and Posner. You know, I really like this quote here from Albert Einstein. It's simple, but boy, to stimulate creativity, one must develop the childlike inclination for play and the childlike desire for recognition. You know, I think back to being a little girl, and I think of my Saturdays, and I think of how I woke up with such excitement to, you know, do something and create something for the day and to go out and have fun. And I think along the way, growing into adulthood, we are told, you know, that that is no longer part of us. You know, we lose a part of that. We feel as if we should be bogged down with mother and parent responsibilities and spouse responsibilities and house and work, and we lose that inclination to see the world in a childlike perspective. You know, if you view the world from a childlike perspective, are you more open to seeing other options? You know, as adults, I think we get those blinders on, and we see it in one way. This is the way we've solved things. This is the way it's going, and we can get stuck sometimes. That prevents us from being innovative and creative. I'm always amazed, you know, when my boys come up with a new way of doing something, and to my fault, I oftentimes think, stop, don't do it that way. This way is the way that works. And I've learned to back off, to be open-minded, to say, hey, the way Karen solves a problem and the way I see it is not, you know, not right for everybody. And my son, who's extremely creative, really comes up with some ways to solve problems that I would never think of, wouldn't even dare to try to solve a problem that way. But he is super creative, and he's going to do something with that brain of his. So I've got to I've got to back off as his leader in his life to allow him the opportunities to try it, possibly fail, get back up, try it again. That's what innovation and creation is about. Some of us have a more easy way to think about innovation and creation based off of their talents and their strengths. Some of us are just always my analytical people, my learners out there. You guys are always in the process of thinking and developing. These individuals really look to stimulate change in regards to creating new things. So for those of you that have those type of thinking strengths, I think that this might come a little bit easier for you. But to innovate and create, the process of innovation and creation begins really with the analysis of a current situation, whether it be your job, whether it be a project, whether it be with a relationship. And once you kind of know where you are and what you want to do, the next step then is to begin to create and explore, you know, your ideas and what the alternatives should be, or what the alternatives may be. And so with this, we look at people that may be struggling to develop their innovation and to create new things. They might just become very anxious in the process of change, or when they are challenged with new options. There's oftentimes ambiguity, fear, and nervousness that might be associated. And motivation, too. I think the motivation wanes if we feel as if we don't have the resources to make it through, or the knowledge base to be successful. So sometimes we'll see that people are dragging their feet, and that might be a response to their confidence level. Maybe not that they really want to, they're motivated, but they just don't quite know how. So to think about it from that perspective, rather than seeing a person maybe thinking about them being not motivated or not being engaged. It is during the times, though, that leaders can really take advantage of creating something new. When there are fluctuation, disturbances, and imbalances, that's really an opportunity, like when there's change in organizations, re-evaluations of missions and purpose statements, and all of those types of opportunities are great sources of times to take advantage of. I'm not sure how many out there actually fear change and fear the process of innovating and creating change. From my perspective, it can sometimes be scary. Unless I do a lot of research and feel as if I can take control, sometimes this area, to me, sounds a little scary. So the next area in innovation that is actually kind of stagnates us is when we have so many routines, and part of any organization, you guys have a lot of routines, a lot of details, and too many routines that have just been there for their sake can be an enemy of change. Routines can stifle the leaders to seek creation, and or too many routines may say to employees that, you know, just do it this way because this is the way it's always been done. And we really want to get past that. You know, leaders must destroy routines because routines get us into ruts. They dull our senses. And once useful routines can sap the vitality of an organization, if we don't recognize the value of the routine. So the paradox is that some routines are needed. Some routines are essential, right? I mean, we have to look at making sure things get delivered on time and making sure that the job gets done. So there are some things in which routines are essential. But, and part of, I hear a lot, especially in academic institutions and working with them, when we have teams and you have the longevity of people that have been in an institution for a period of time, oftentimes there are just things that are done and they're done this way, and new people might come on and you might say why, and they just say because. You know, it's that paradox of routine. Sometimes we don't even know why or who developed this, but it's just been there, so therefore we just do. And leaders, we want to make sure that we do delicately challenge those things when they need to be challenged. Obviously, if a routine is in place and it serves a purpose and it's functional and efficient, good, go for it, you know, save it and leave it. But there are many routines that are there, and really their purpose, their production and efficiency are not the best. So there are places where we can challenge the paradox of that routine. Warren Bennis is a great speaker out of USC there, and he's got a lot of good books out there on leadership. I was listening to some of his TED Talks and YouTubes. If you guys are interested, that would be a good leadership resource for you. So with routines, I shared with you, you know, the FedEx days. Atlantis, that Australian company, it was a technology company, came up with this innovative and creative idea to drive innovation. They gave their people a 24-hour window to create and do anything they wanted to do. It just couldn't be part of their everyday routine. It couldn't be part of their day job. It is something that they wished that they could do, they had a passion for, and they set aside this time where these people could work on it. And it was very invigorating. Their results were amazing. At the end of the day, everybody shared what they worked on. That was one of the criteria. They had to share what they did. And then, you know, many of the big brains in the room would take some of the ideas that they felt, you know, really had some stake in the game, and they took them and they grew with them. And production, you know, production just grew exponentially. They also have offered this, the company offered it up for competitions, where people were getting kind of blinders on, like I said before, right? We got those blinders on, and so people were saying, yeah, hey, that's great for a technology company, but I work in a hospital. How would this work? Or I am a teacher. How would that work? You may not have 24 hours in your day to do it, but do you have a window of a couple of hours just to have that freedom to kind of think about it? I want us to jump outside of the box. You know, I want us to think about how this would apply to our jobs on campus, to our home lives, and of course to our project. And many of you were able to do that with your project, but again, it's not something that is a one-time thing. We constantly want to be challenging ourselves in this way. And I know a lot of companies say, oh my gosh, we just give them time and we don't structure their time, they're not going to do anything. But really, they saw that employees came up with a ton of creative and innovative ideas within that time because they believed that the company was going to listen to them. They believed the company was opening up time in their calendar because it was vital for them to develop new ideas and new approaches. We want to have routines and we want to have discipline. Absolutely, that is okay. It's just how much is too much, and are we having the routines and having the discipline of our daily schedule to the point where because we're doing it just because that's what we have done and that's just how it's always been done. So the second component to the FedEx is looking at creating just enough structure for your people. Like with the FedEx Day, you know, it did give some parameters. It gave loose structures. It said, all right, this is your time frame. You can work either as an individual or with a group, but then at the end of this time, we are going to want everybody to get up and do a quick, you know, presentation about what it is you guys thought about, what you developed, what your ideas were. I was trying to critique it and understand it from an educational standpoint, and they were showing that a lot of elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, and colleges develop these days as well, and they looked at, you know, instructional design, student engagement, organizational development. So they took this idea and they just tweaked it to meet the needs of their organization and their structure. The other aspect of our FedEx days is that they compete for respect. You know, there's nothing in this in our FedEx days that involves any type of bonuses or incentives. Really, it's truly bragging rights. If their idea, if they get inspired by a good idea or they see something that they thought was not achievable, the administrators and the people that are there at this retreat, they change the roadmap the next week. The people love that. You can see, you can win that way. Even if you don't win the first place trophy, your idea begins to spark interest. And again, we're making change meaningful. So if our ideas spark interest, we feel so much more invested in, like, okay, how can we make this happen? And, you know, what is it we need to do next? So I think that is, we always think we have to operate with financial gain in mind, and really our true intrinsic motivation has very little to do with monetary rewards. The next area of the FedEx that I think transitions from the innovation is what they did next was they actually openly and freely, without a cost to anybody, shared their ideas. So literally, they've opened it up for a public dialogue. And instead of, if you think about it, most companies would hold these ideas tightly under their belt in hopes for financial gain, or, you know, we can't share this idea because if we share this idea, someone's going to steal it. And this is absolutely what the philosophy is. They went against it, and they were serious about sharing. They created the public blogs, which all companies can go on, and you can go out there and look at their blogs in regards to education. And they put up what their ideas were, what they came up with. They also hold contests in which companies present their FedEx idea to Atlassian, and then they give them financial rewards. So that is an incentive in which companies all go up in its competition. But I mean, you think about it, and this is so against the mindset of so many companies, right? If you're working for a software company, you're not going to expose your ideas for fear that somebody's going to take it. They're saying, you know what, let's share. Let's see what other people have. Let's value all of our perspectives and see then what we do with it. And I love that thinking, and embracing that outlook is, I think, very refreshing. Looking outward for fresh ideas, rejuvenating the spark. I don't know, do any of you guys go to work every day and just kind of like, oh my gosh, it's another day? Any of you guys kind of in a rut, or just like doing the same thing day in and day out? we get out of it by kind of switching our focus and looking for new ways to kind of, you know, spruce things up, if you would. And we can do that in such simple ways. It doesn't have to be large projects or large things. I mean, if there's something small in your routine that might, you know, regenerate your energy and motivation. You know, innovation can come from just about anywhere. You know, if I had to ask you all individually where your innovation comes from, where does your inspiration come from, when does it come, you know, what would be your answers? You know, for me personally, I run, and so literally when I run, it's a time of reflection and focus, and I have a lot of ideas that come to me when I can have that sanctuary in my mind. We do have great ideas, and all I want you to focus on is taking small steps and actions that you're motivated to do. If you have a lot of innovations, a lot of inspiration, and maybe you've got 7 ideas of things that are floating around in your head, pull one down, grab onto it, and see what you can do with it. You know, we're constantly looking for success and happiness, but people that are constantly searching are not trying to take tangible steps to make it happen. You know, so we got great ideas. What are we going to do with it? You know, let's take one and see where we can roll and put the other ones on the burner, on the whiteboard in the back of the room. We know that they're out there. We're not going to forget about them. But let's just do one at a time. Don't overwhelm yourself. But that's what we do. We try to take on so much, and then we end up not being able to see it through with success, and then we get frustrated. You know, so pull one down and see what you can do with it. Try it on, tweak it. You know, that's going to be our best, you know, approach to success. Listen to a lot John Schultz, the CEO of Starbucks, and he has an amazing journey of his vision. What Starbucks used to be here in the United States were really they just sold the beans. It wasn't a coffee shop or anything like that. And he went over, I believe, to Italy or somewhere overseas and walked into this amazing, he called it a symphony of events, and it was a coffee shop, and everybody gathered. It was a social event, and everybody was just gathered around their coffee and having great conversation. And he saw this, and he just said, oh my gosh, I need to bring that to America, and I need to bring that. I need to make this come alive for everybody. But he walked in there, he thought it, he did something with it, you know, he got inspired, and I think that's where the innovation, do you get inspired? Do you get those gut feelings and that, really that, oh my gosh, we can do this, you know, that excitement going on? I love that. I love to hear that, especially when I'm coaching people and I can hear it come alive in their voice. You know, so looking for those fresh ideas, again, not always easy, but having conversations, you know, just talking with people internally about new ways of doing things, challenging the status quo, externally to having conversations, going outside of your comfort zone, reading more, you know, talking to people outside. I think our other blinders is that we're in an academic setting, and so therefore we stick to academics. You know, do you have opportunities to look at other companies and organizations that are successful, and what are they doing? How is it their productivity, their engagement, their retention is high? Those same principles are very important in academics as well. So that's another way of, oh, let's look outside. Let's just not stick to academics. Let's go outside and see what else we can gather from those high-performing teams and companies. And I like that, you know, treating every job as an adventure. And when I'm talking to you guys, you know, we're getting into that rut where, gosh darn it, we're so busy, and we're just letting life drag us, you know. Heck, I want to be in front of that. I want to be in front. I want to be leading that pack. I don't want, you know, to feel as if I'm just being dragged along. And I think part of that is getting excited and getting to your job, loving what you do, or finding parts of your job you love and get passionate about, and treating every day as, at least part of it maybe, as an adventure. I know that's hard to do, and sometimes we just say we're too busy, but could you do it some of the time and see how you feel, you know? And treating every job as if it is your first day really changes our perspective. Or treating like your relationships, treating each and every relationship you have as if it is new and fresh, and making sure you're taking the actions to value that person or value the position. Because when we get a new job, you guys, we really value the opportunities that we think we're going to get from it. But over time, that value kind of loses its shine and its hope. And the only way you get that back is when you recognize that you've lost the shine and the hope for the job, and you have the abilities to polish it up, and you have the abilities to change your focus. So how might you act if you treated every day as if it was your first day on the job, or your first day as a parent, or your first day in a relationship? It's a great reminder of how to polish up our day. Seeking meaningful challenge for others. And I like to do this to, you know, whether it be my kids, whether it be my coworkers, or whether it be people I'm coaching, is, gosh, you know, let's challenge each other. Let's not do the same thing. Let's switch it up a little bit, you know. It's kind of like a workout routine. If any of you guys get into that routine of, okay, I do 30 minutes 3 times a week, and blah, 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 but then you complain because there are no results. Or the worst case, you're gaining weight and you're getting more frustrated, but you're working out, so what's wrong? Well, what's wrong is your mind and body are used to it. And the only way to make change is to create a new atmosphere. So challenging yourself to doing new things expands your brain, not just with wellness, but also in work and as a leader. And so we want to make sure we're challenging each other, having fun to our day. You know, do you feel as if you work in a department where you guys have fun, where you guys laugh, you know, where you break up the stress with humor, you know, anything like that? Adding fun to everyone's work day is something that we forget about. We take ourselves so seriously, you guys, that we forget to laugh, we forget to have fun, and it is truly during those times when we can be lighthearted and be a little less serious with ourselves that we begin to open our minds for new ideas. We begin to open up conversations, or we begin to open up our creative thinking or problem solving. When we get very stressed out and high-strung about everything being so serious, we get narrow-minded. We don't see opportunities. And so I do challenge. I know a lot of you do try to create a fun and engaging workplace, and you see the results of your people being happier, your people being more involved, and higher levels of communication. So there are ways in which we can have fun at work and not take ourselves so seriously, although we do have a very serious job that, you know, we are providing for our students and our internal and external clientele. Challenge yourself to think about it being the first day on the job, and you want to bring your best self to work, renewing the energy of your team, because it is very natural for us all to go through kind of life cycles, and some life cycles to get a little stagnant and stale, and we want to freshen those out. But as long as you're challenging the status quo, you know, you are moving in a great direction of becoming a great leader. Seeking meaningful challenges for yourself, again, is another way that we innovate and create change. And really, ladies and gentlemen, intrinsically motivating yourself is going to be your core to making change. If you are intrinsically motivated to make the change, then you will make the change. If you are doing it for other reasons, then you find yourself, your motivation may not be as high. So are you intrinsically motivated when you take on projects or create new ideas? And if you're not, just be honest. But that intrinsic motivation is going to be huge. People will also excel when they connect with their passions related to their strengths, and we have spoke to this. But are your strengths your focus? And I bring you back to this because this is your anchor. when you wake up in the morning and you see your mission statement and you see your strengths, I really want you to embrace how it is you are going to lead your day with your strengths. How are you challenging yourself every day, utilizing your strengths, not worrying about your weaknesses or your shortcomings, but realizing in my tasks for the day and with my responsibilities, how am I going to make sure I'm leading with my strengths so that I'm passionate to get it done, I have energy, I'm motivated, and that it needs to be your anchor. That needs to be where you come back to in times of stress. That needs to be where when there's a lot of change and a lot of challenges, you put on your strengths cap and you say, all right, you know what? Hey, I've got individualization and communication. I know that I'm going to have some conversations that are going to help me understand what's going on, and I'm going to utilize those conversations to deal with my stress and to get me to the next level that I need to in this project or in this job, whatever that looks like. And I like this quote. It came out of a LinkedIn contact that I have, Energy Guy Jim on LinkedIn. Today, he says, keep raising the bar until it becomes a way of life. It's a mindset. The bar will disappear, so will your limitations, which is absolutely amazing. Really, to think about that, we live to meet expectations, but do you ever live to exceed expectations? And that's really where we want to go. That is where when we challenge ourselves, we go above what we think we can do because we are motivated to get there. We exceed it. We run through that finish line and we keep running. And that's really exciting. That gives us the juice and that gives us the passion to make a difference. And then that passion is so contagious. You know, it goes into all areas of our life. So if we're getting that passion at work, we bring that home with us. We bring it to the relationships at home, and we're more motivated and more engaged in all aspects of our life. We have conversations about, and I'm sure you guys can relate to this, people that want to challenge themselves to get better in an area where they are the weakest, right? So I'm, not very good at detail-oriented Excel sheets, blah, blah. So I'm going to spend a lot of time working on that, and just because then maybe it'll make my life easier. But that is your worst investment. I will never be great at that. Maybe I can manage it, but it's not going to be my exceller that makes me the success I'm going to be. So we also want to make sure that your challenges, please don't challenge yourself based off of trying to overcome a weakness, okay? I want you to challenge yourself based off of your strengths. What is it? I've got a couple of hours to give to myself each week, I'm going to challenge myself in certain areas. I want it to be in the areas you're already doing good at that you want to see skyrocket. That is where your key to success will be, not trying to overcome your weaknesses. I wanted to introduce to you emotional intelligence as part of our development process is really to get to understand where we are at with our emotional intelligence, our social awareness, our judgment, our empathy towards others. Daniel Goleman has a video out there. I'll send to you guys just a quick overview of, emotional intelligence and why it is so important for our leaders to have high levels of emotional intelligence. He tells a great story about going back to his hometown. He grew up in a farm in California, and he went back for his 20-year reunion and was looking around him and was looking at all the people that were successful. And surprisingly enough, he looked towards the people that were the valedictorians, the ones that carried the higher GPA, thinking and expecting that those would be the individuals that would be more successful. And what he found was it absolutely was not. The correlation was not there, that a higher level of IQ indicated a higher level of success. And what he's finding is that over his years of research is that a higher level of emotional intelligence actually equates to a higher level of success. Our greatest leaders are reported to have higher levels of empathy towards the people they work with. They have more, they are more in tune to their emotional reactions. They make Their judgment calls are done in a calm, not impulsive way, because they have their emotions kind of balanced, if you would. So that's where he comes from and he speaks from, is looking at the emotional intelligence quotient and seeing how we can grow our own emotional intelligence as leaders to help, to help inspire others. And there's a big pocket of research out there, particularly to the people that are working with students, on growing our students' emotional intelligence to help them to be more successful in the workplace. There's a strong connection in that body of research out there. At the end of each of our trainings, I do always hope that you are becoming more mindful of, over the last hour, something that you can connect with, that you can start doing. Maybe some new idea that we've shared today that really kind of like, wow, you know what, that sounds like I could do that. Or something that you want to stop doing, like maybe I'm in too much structure, I have too many routines, I really need to kind of break out of that. And then something that you realize, like, you know what, I'm doing some of this, and I just need to grow and develop and become more aware and apply more of it, because I'm doing some of these things right, and I just need to grow it in a stronger direction. So this technique that I've shared with you before, the start, stop, and keep technique, always challenges you to think about the content of the material and what are you going to do with it to make change. That is your biggest struggle. To make this hour purposeful and meaningful to you is to answer these questions, start, stop, and keep.